13 days on a raft, adrift, starving, and resorting to the unthinkable. The year is 1816. The French frigate Medusa, bound for Senegal, runs aground off the coast of West Africa. What unfolds next isn't just a shipwreck. It's a terrifying descent into the abyss of human morality, a story that shook an empire and exposed the raw, brutal calculus of survival. Captain Hugues Duroy de Chaumeries, a man appointed through political favor rather than maritime skill, was at the helm. His incompetence was a ticking time bomb, leading directly to the Medusa's fatal encounter with the Arguellan sandbank. With the ship firmly stuck, panic ensued. The captain, officers, and wealthy passengers quickly secured places on the 6 lifeboats, but there weren't enough for everyone. Over 150 souls were left behind, staring at a hastily constructed raft, barely seaworthy. This raft, measuring just 20 by 7 meters, was meant to be towed by the lifeboats. It was an impossible burden, overloaded with men, women, and even a few children, standing shoulder to shoulder, waves washing over their ankles. But the unthinkable happened. After just a few hours, the tow ropes were cut. The lifeboats, carrying the privileged, abandoned the raft. This act of cold betrayal severed the last thread of hope for those adrift. Suddenly, 150 people were truly alone, adrift in the vast Atlantic with meager provisions. A few barrels of wine and water, quickly lost to the waves. Their journey into the abyss had truly begun. The first night brought a horrific storm. Waves crashed over the raft, sweeping dozens into the sea. The screams of the dying mingled with the roar of the tempest. It was a baptism by terror, marking the beginning of their transformation. By the second day, desperation had set in. Mutiny erupted. Soldiers, fearing for their lives and fueled by rum found on the raft, turned on the officers. Knives flashed in the dim light and bodies were thrown overboard. The social order collapsed entirely. The veneer of civilization had peeled away. Thirst and hunger became unbearable. They tried to fish but failed. They tried to collect rainwater, but the storms were too violent, the sun too scorching. Then came the unspeakable. As more died, the living, driven by a primal urge to survive, turned to cannibalism. This wasn't a choice made lightly, but a terrifying concession to the darkest corners of human endurance. The survivors, now a skeletal few, were haunted by their actions. The moral lines blurred, then vanished. Was it wrong to eat the dead when starvation meant certain demise? Where does self-preservation end and humanity begin? 13 days later, on July 17, 1816, a sail appeared on the horizon. The Argus, another French vessel, spotted the drifting horror. Of the 150 who began on the raft, only 15 remained alive. Most were barely clinging to life. The survivors' accounts were horrific, detailing the mutiny, the murders, and the cannibalism. These stories ignited a firestorm in France, exposing the government's corruption and the staggering incompetence that led to the tragedy. The incident became a powerful symbol of aristocratic ineptitude and the suffering of the common people. It was a stark reminder that in extreme circumstances, even the most basic tenets of human decency can crumble. The story became immortalized by Théodore Géricault's masterpiece, The Raft of the Medusa. His painting, completed in 1819, isn't just a depiction of survival. It's a profound commentary on hope, despair, and the human condition. Géricault interviewed survivors, studied cadavers, and even built a replica of the raft to capture the raw authenticity of their ordeal. He wasn't just painting a scene. He was capturing the very essence of human struggle. The painting itself is a study in contrasts. The dynamic composition, the dying and the hopeful, the darkness of the storm giving way to a distant glimmer of rescue. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. The Medusa tragedy asks fundamental questions about leadership. What responsibility do those in power have for the lives entrusted to them? And what happens when that trust is not just broken, but actively betrayed? It also delves into the psychology of groups under extreme duress. How quickly can a civilized society devolve into chaos? What moral frameworks hold and which shatter when survival is the only imperative? From a Stoic perspective, the Medusa incident is a terrifying illustration of what happens when external circumstances completely overwhelm human agency, leaving only the bare bones of choice. To live or to die, by any means necessary. Yet even in this harrowing tale, there are moments of resilience. The sheer will to live, the desperate clinging to a faint hope, even the shared burden of unimaginable acts, speaks to the enduring, complex nature of the human spirit. The Raft of the Medusa is more than a historical account. It's a timeless parable. It reminds us of the fragility of order, the depths of human depravity, and the astonishing capacity for survival, even in the face of utter despair. It forces us to ask, what would we do? What moral lines would we cross? And how much of our perceived civility is truly inherent, and how much is merely a luxury of comfort? This story isn't just about a shipwreck. It's about the shipwrecks within us, the moments where our principles are tested, and the true nature of our character is revealed. It's a mirror held up to humanity, reflecting our brightest and darkest facets. Consider